What can I say about Warlords Battlecry that has not already been said before? Anything. I can say anything because no one ever talks about it. It came out in June 2000 to no fanfare, nominated for the Best Game No One Played award by GameSpot, both an RTS and an RPG. And the reason I want to talk about some 22-year-old game is because this game is a freaking masterpiece. Something I sank months of my life into. The emergent storytelling was second to none. There's a core memory I have from this game of struggle and horror, where all my veterans had died and I played a game of cat and mouse with the army. As resources trickled into my base, finally I amassed a force, only to beat them by the skin of my teeth. In the end, only my hero was left standing. The ending screen showed me the graves of my fallen warriors who had been with me since the start of the game, my hands shaking as I lay down to recover. But you cannot take strength from trauma. You take strength from the good things in life. Your friends, your family, and some of us have been blessed by the gods because early in our lives we were introduced to video games. So we have the ultimate therapy, simulated violence. And my weapon of choice, my sports system, my sanctuary was Warlords Battlecry. A game where I can decide my own beginning. A game where I can become stronger. A game where I can overcome anything. The game that started my RPG journey. The reason I went back and played the old greats. The reason I love storytelling. The reason I am who I am. Earlier this year, I picked a copy of Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. And by pick a copy, I mean I purchased it on Steam and didn't receive anything physical for it. I have always loved CRPGs, including Pathfinder Kingmaker. And since I was thoroughly familiar with the mechanics, I wanted to challenge myself. I wanted to play on core difficulty. I love D&D. I have been playing it for years, and so it is sacrilege for me to play on anything but core. I installed the game, but when I got to character creator, I just froze. What do I want to play with? Should I make a paladin and play towards being an angel? Nah. I need to be a square in real life, don't need to do that in game. What about a mage who becomes a lich and uses his lich powers to do good? Nah, that's Severus Snape. How about a monk who eventually starts to break the rules and can no longer upgrade monk levels, forcing him to change classes? 3 weeks later, and I've yet to get past the character creator. I've worked in the industry for years now, and I want to create my own game. A game I can be proud of. Something I would want to play. And I do not want managers who have never played a game in their life to tell me what to do. Because in my experience, when it comes to what the players actually want, they were always wrong. A huge part of making games is searching for artwork to be inspired by, and that is when I came upon something interesting. Something from my childhood. Among pictures of barbarian warriors, I found him. The portrait of my character from Warlords Battlecry, Ahiga. And in that moment, I knew what to play in Pathfinder. Ahiga is an unstoppable force. He could hit hard and fast, chip away at armies alone, and when only the hero was remaining, no matter who it was, he would beat them. Because Ahiga was the power fancy of a physically challenged 15-year-old who sucked at sports. I absolutely loved role-playing Ahiga. His name literally means he fights. He would hunt all animals, he didn't spare bandits or thieves, he would hit first and ask questions later, and because he had a tried and true build, he could fight on, even when his party would fail. Some bells won by the skin of his teeth, where he was the only one left standing. This, however, like all good things in life, would be a fleeting moment. The most crucial story and gameplay element in Pathfinder is the mythic path system. There are a total of 10 mythic paths which you can progress through, along with one secret ending. They are the following: Devil, lawful rulers of hell, cheating mortals out their souls, a creature who technically stays within the law but commits great evil through it. Golden Dragon, patience, kindness, compassion, a benevolent protector of life. Legend, where you reject your mythic powers entirely and choose to live as a mortal, an example for future generations to aspire to. Swarm, that walks, devouring everything, demon or human. Lich, you can turn yourself into the most powerful undead creature, eternal, with an army at your beck and call. Trickster, prank the entire existence with your shenanigans. Angel, celestial beings with immense power. Azata, champions of freedom and good. In my opinion, the path which will bring you the most happiness. I would highly recommend this for new players. You even get a dragon friend who grows larger as you play the game.
And then there's Aeon, eternal judge, Sigma male seeking balance in the universe. You can literally bitch slap the queen and take away her youth, which she has acquired through unimaginable wealth wasted on a holy plant.
And then there's the path of the demon. When Ahiga first found his mythic powers, I saw the appeal of the demonic path. Ahiga is a melee character, a barbarian, and he would benefit a lot from growing horns and claws and being resilient to various forms of elements. Why shouldn't he embrace it? The power he had sought his whole life. Okay, so at this point I started to realize something about this game. The mythic path system is absolutely unique. If a lesser game was to make these paths, they would have something like this. Demons can throw an energy bolt of chaos damage. Lich can throw the same bolt but unholy damage. Holy for angels and nature for Azata. Often in games, different paths would either deprive you of important abilities, like in Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, where Siths simply cannot have a good heal. Or in other games, they will have a different coat of paint for mechanically the same abilities. This game does not do that. Each path has entirely unique mechanics. Azata buffs and enhances your party, their magic embodies the chaos inherent to them. Angels can heal large amounts of health, making them seem like benevolent, powerful beings. Lich can control the dead and raise several ancient characters as companions, learning their stories as you play. The Swarm can make copies of itself, has simple yet powerful abilities, as a swarm of bloodthirsty demon bugs should. And demons, they can only really make themselves more powerful, their companions be damned, which makes sense. In different fictions, demonic powers are supposed to be tempting and manipulative, and interestingly enough, I was tempted. I wanted to become the strongest among my peers, to tank loads of damage and dish out the same, sinking deeper into the demonic nature of Ahiga, a literal call of the abyss. I told myself, you know what, let me take these powers for now. But when it is truly time to choose a mythic path, when I have to commit to it, I will choose something different, something good. Ahiga is a proud, bashful, loud and violent man, but he's not evil, is he? I mean, come on. We are the defenders of this world, fighting against the demons. He can't just become one, right? A few days later, while exploring the Whirlwood, we came upon a Vescovo swarm. Vescovo being the flying locust-like creatures that tear anyone apart to feed on, perhaps a worse death in this world. Ahiga and his companions had to find and kill the Vesco Queen to disperse the swarm, and as they did, Ahiga saw the toll the swarm had on his forces. He had known from the very first time he had seen demons that he would need every advantage he can get, and crucially, he knew the Vesco do not distinguish between human and demon. So he collected the pheromones which attract them. Quickly though, as there were still too many Vesco in the area. Close to the Queen's burned remains, they found a cave to hide in and wait out the storm, and as they explored, they found a strange container with a malicious green glow, surrounded by the undead. Every time they struck them down, something from the box would emanate power and raise them all again, until Ahiga reached into the container and grabbed the wand responsible for it. There was a whisper to the wand, a call from an ancient being, of this world and not at the same time. In a fit of cowardice, curiosity, or malice, Ahiga put the wand in his pack before defeating the undead one final time. And now they were safe from both the undead and the Vesco. The day was won, and perhaps it was time to rest. Ahiga stood surrounded by the twisted bodies of his friends and followers. In a desperate struggle for survival, he tore through his enemies with a newly found fury. Ahiga's generals and companions were captured by the enemy, forcing him to rescue them without a moment of rest. On the hallowed grounds of the Lost Chapel, Ahiga found a hidden passage in the ruins of the main hall, accessible only to the one who holds the wand with the green glow. As they explored the tunnels, they came upon a perfectly preserved library as well as its owner. Too late, they noticed his head was a hollow skull, and to their horror, it spoke. A lich who gave them an ultimatum: either return the wand and become his apprentice, or face him in battle and die. Tired, injured, and afraid, they had no strength left to fight a lich. And so the difficulty of the game influenced Ahiga's decisions, forcing him to return the wand. But keeping his promise, the lich helped them by raising the undead to fight for them in the final battle. And with this victory, they were finally ready to take back the city, which was lost to demons 70 years ago. At this time of the game, I was finding it hard to play on core difficulty. I am an old RPG player who had played D&D, and as I've said before, it is sacrilege for me to play on anything but core. So I stubbornly played on. But the story which emerged, the hard choices Ahiga had to make, created a far more compelling narrative. A barbarian warlord who had always stayed true to the old ways had to compromise in the face of unimaginable odds. No longer the man I envisioned at the start of the game, his idealism giving way to a cold cynicism. What choice did he really have when there was no more gold left to heal during battle? Having broken bodies and spirits, marching towards a fortress that hasn't fallen in 70 years. As demons keep pouring into this world, he would have to change and survive or perish. He used the damn pheromones on the city full of demons, damning the men who had to carry it. But it was necessary. Taking back the city was easier for it. And at the moment of truth, when the city of Dresden was taken back, Ahiga, knowing the trials that lay ahead, gave in to temptation. The banner of the citadel changing as if its nature had changed with Ahiga. His companions were afraid, especially Erushle, a succubus on the path to redemption, an ascending demon. Amber, the saintly urchin, who Ahiga had adopted, was now terrified of him. And that broke Ahiga's heart. Didn't they know he must do this? Didn't they know he had to be strong? Didn't they know what was at stake here? They didn't understand what it takes to be a leader. They didn't understand what it is to send men to their death. They didn't know the sacrifices I have made. What did they know? Nothing. Only I knew. I, Ahiga, am the Lord Commander of the Crusades, and they will obey me. And if they don't, they can leave. And if they oppose me, they will be executed. I will do it myself. Ahiga was unstoppable, growling orders, fighting with great vengeance and furious anger. His rage was unrelenting. His powers grew with every battle. More and more, he lost hold of himself, executing men who would defy him, punishing weakness and cowardice, dismissing the advice of his companions, damning anything and everything for victory. Until he went to Wintersun. A corruption had taken over the forest, surrounding the fort, maddening the creatures of the wild. At the behest of a mad witch, Ahiga sought out the cryptid spirit, a bear, wretched and rotten. This was supposed to be a challenge. A great bear spirit, defender of the forest, and Ahiga defeated him with a single blow. But as he stood over the whimpering bear, Ahiga had a moment of pause, and for the first time since becoming a demon, he could not bring himself to kill. Because when he looked the bear in his eyes, he saw what we all fear to see in our enemies, ourselves. A scared beast who has forgotten what he used to be. He went back to the cave and killed the crone who had placed the curse on the poor creature, lifting the curse and setting him free. And then Ahiga simply left the forest without harming a single animal. That day, he left two parts of himself behind. One was the mental corruption of a demon, and an older part, a chieftain who cared more for trophies than life. So, the truth is, I didn't really want to leave the forest without killing the sleeping creatures. I, the player, definitely wanted those pelts. For the extra gold. On core difficulty, you will burn through a lot of healing potions, and the cost adds up. So I just didn't wake up the sleeping creatures because I thought that the cost of recovering might be higher than the pelts themselves. The juice was just not worth the squeeze. And once again, the gameplay itself changed the narrative of the story. There are other games that do this too. Ask any lifelong gamer and they will tell you that the difficulty of Dark Souls conveys its narrative. Playing the game on easy mode will take something away from it, if there was such a thing in the first place. Now look, I am not an advocate for the get good mentality. I am all for any and all freedom in games. Play as you like. Mod it, lower the difficulty, increase it, whatever. I do not care. As long as it was a good experience. But I do think your experience is potentially worse off in a few cases if you reduce the difficulty of the game. You will struggle temporarily, but the story you will take away from the experience would be far better for it. And isn't that why we play video games? To experience stories? From that day onwards, Ahiga tried to be better. Sometimes successfully, other times less so. But he tried. The last transformation had changed him physically into a demon. Reversing that would take great effort. And to my surprise, the game allowed it. Ahiga started encouraging Ember to express her philosophy, a prophet for the common folk. So much so that she reformed a demon queen. And if her plight would be heard by an ancient creature like her, what chance did Ahiga have against Ember's eternally forgiving kindness? And in return, Ahiga was kind to others. So I did something simply on instinct. Ahiga and his party found themselves in the abyss, and the Lady of Shadow, the Demon Queen Nocticula herself, asked me for the Lexicon of Paradox, a tome of immense power able to change someone into a god. Ahiga and I somehow knew that when Ember cried to the Demon Queen, she would convince her to redeem herself. In an act of pure faith and madness, Ahiga gave her the Lexicon of Paradox and hope for the best. It is beyond hopeful and terrifyingly ridiculous to assume a creature who has been evil for millennia will be moved to redemption by street urchins' sincere faith in her. But that is exactly what happened. And now we have a goddess who is a symbol of hope that even a demon lord can reform themselves. Also, Ahiga would get 10 extra stat points as a profane gift. Because of Ember's kindness and influence, Ahiga started to pay it forward. It was too late for some. Ninio could not be saved. Her quest for the truth had led her to oblivion. Because you can only truly see things objectively when you are no one and nothing. Ahiga had lost a companion, but he made sure no one ever entered that damn temple again. Then stayed his arrogant self, freed from the great evil that haunted him. But he wanted to end his life rather than suffer in a faraway asylum, and so Ahiga obliged. Not the best way to handle it, but Ahiga is who he is. Even with that, it was not too late for many. He was kind to Vol'jif, a thief and a coward who didn't believe in family, but slowly he began to trust Ahiga, culminating in him rejecting his own demonic heritage. He helped Erushle fight her demons, so she ascended to Elysium. Finally, an Azata. He allowed Wendua to be open about her feelings and insecurities. He tried to learn from Sheila that people deserve a second chance. He helped Greybor rediscover the value of family. he helped find Cecile's lost brother from the abyss itself. After making his way back from the abyss, Ahiga had to make the final choice. Should he continue and become a demon lord? Or should he embrace the power of the swarm? Or should he heed the advice of the golden dragons and join their ranks? But after all he had been through, after the mental turmoil and struggles, all the times he had to hold himself back from doing the unthinkable, the choice was already made. He knew what he had to do, and so he chose the path of the legend. Rejecting all mythic powers and leading his people to a final victory against Erilu Volesh, the woman responsible for the world wound, a grieving mother who tore the world apart over the loss of her son and her own ambitions. After defeating her, Ahiga closed the world wound, ridding the world of this constant source of misery. And even though it was not part of the game, I want to believe that one day he returned to his tribe with gifts and cheers. There he would be reintroduced to a girl he used to like, a girl who knew nothing of his dark path. His companions were romantically involved with him, but he simply could not be with them. They had seen him at his worst. And even if we painstakingly piece together something lost, it does not mean it'll ever go back to the way it was. But maybe Ahiga could find happiness with this girl. A girl who knew nothing of him besides a few fond childhood memories. And maybe he had a happily ever after. And now the story of Ahiga is complete. A story 15 years in the making. But there's something missing in all this. One of his companions was a young noblewoman, Camellia, a heartless psychopath who enjoyed inflicting pain on others. Ahiga killed her in the basement of an abandoned home when he found her with the corpse of a fallen soldier. She was a serial killer and a cannibal, simply a monster. And monsters like her cannot change their nature. And perhaps that is why it was important that Ahiga rejects any and all mythic powers. Because he knew deep down, regardless of how we may try to better ourselves, that some monsters cannot change.